Welcome back to Braintree Today. I'm Sarah Hamilton and you're watching BCAM TV. Now we'll be getting into our latest stories from the week. It's been in the process of negotiation for over a year, but now TikTok announced it has finalized its deal to spin off its U.S. joint venture operated by mostly American investors. In a press release, TikTok said today, TikTok USDS Joint Venture LLC has been established in compliance with the executive order signed by President Trump on September 25, 2025, now enabling more than 200 million Americans and 7.5 million businesses to continue to discover, create, and thrive as part of TikTok's vibrant global community and experience. The majority American-owned TikTok will operate under safeguards that protect national security for U.S. users. The press release goes on to say that TikTok's mandate is to secure U.S. user data, apps, and the algorithm through comprehensive data privacy and cybersecurity measures. The agreement provides for Americans and global investors to hold 80.1% of the venture, while ByteDance will own 19.9%. The three managing investors involved with the deal are American companies Oracle Corporation and Silver Lake, as well as MGX, which is based in the United Arab Emirates. Oracle, Silver Lake, and MGX will each have a 15% ownership stake in the new American entity. The deal finally brings closure to the years-long saga over the popular Chinese social media app's status after Congress passed a law requiring it to be banned if its parent company didn't sell its U.S. entity to Americans. In international news, the United States has officially withdrawn from the World Health Organization. President Donald Trump's administration announced the expected official withdrawal last week. It came exactly 1 year after Trump signed an executive order to begin the process and was announced by the Department of Health and Human Services and the Department of State. In their announcement, Health and Human Services accused the World Health Organization of delaying its response in declaring COVID-19 to be a global health emergency and unfairly criticizing Trump for his actions at the time, which included shutting down travel to specific foreign countries early in the pandemic. Health and Human Services also argued that other countries, including China, contributed less than the U.S. monetarily and that the World Health Organization has never had an American Director General despite the large finances contributed by the U.S. Public health experts have criticized the Trump administration's decision to withdraw from the World Health Organization, claiming it would put the U.S. at a disadvantage during domestic and international health crises. In other international news, delegations from Russia, Ukraine, and the United States began historic trilateral talks in Abu Dhabi last Friday, marking the first such meeting since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine nearly 4 years ago. The technical-level discussions represent a significant diplomatic development amid the ongoing conflict that has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. The talks bring together key representatives from all three nations. Ukraine's delegation is led by top negotiator Rustem Umerov and includes the deputy head of the presidential office and chief of the general staff, Andriy Hanatov. Russia has sent representatives from its Ministry of Defense, with Main Intelligence Directorate Chief Admiral Igor Kustyukov heading the team. The meetings follow a separate high-level engagement where President Donald Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, and son-in-law Jared Kushner met with Russian President Vladimir Putin for more than 3 hours late last week. Kremlin aide Yuri Yushakov described those talks as exceptionally substantive, constructive, and I would say extremely frank and confidential. The central obstacle to peace seems to remain on territorial disputes. Russia is demanding Ukraine surrender approximately 5,000 square kilometers of the Donetsk region, which was home to more than 100,000 people before the invasion. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has already ruled out territorial concessions, but called the Abu Dhabi meeting a step forward. He also noted that documents related to security guarantees for Ukraine have been drafted and are ready to be signed by Kyiv and Washington. President Donald Trump threatens to impose a 100% tariff on goods imported from Canada if America's neighbor goes ahead with its trade deal with China. While Trump has waged a trade war over the past year, Canada this month negotiated a deal to lower tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles in return for lower import taxes on Canadian farm products. Trump initially had said that agreement was what Carney should be doing, and is it a good thing for him to sign a trade deal? Trump's threat comes amid an escalating war of words with Carney as the president pushed to acquire Greenland and strain the NATO alliance. Trump had commented while in Davos, Switzerland last week that Canada lives because of the United States. Carney shot back that his nation can be an example that the world does not have to bend toward autocratic tendencies. Carney has not yet reached a deal with Trump to reduce some of the tariffs that he has imposed on key sectors of the Canadian economy, But Canada has been protected from the heaviest impact of Trump's tariffs by the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. That trade agreement is up for review this year. Tom Homan, the White House border czar, said the federal approach in Minneapolis hasn't been perfect, as he announced he was working on a plan to begin drawing down the presence of federal agents. "I'm not here because the federal government has carried this mission out perfectly," Homan said Thursday. He added that he felt that increased cooperation from state and local officials would allow for a smaller presence in the city. He said that drawdown would depend on the ability to work more closely with local authorities. Since arriving in the state, Homan had met with officials, including Democratic Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Homan said that at one meeting with the Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, they agreed to allow ICE agents to arrest immigrants in the country illegally in the state's jails who are facing criminal charges but haven't yet been tried. Homan signaled an overall shift in strategy, saying federal immigration officials would revert to conducting targeted operations of immigrants in the country illegally, particularly with serious criminal histories. Thanks for watching Braintree Today. We'll be right back with more after the break.
I'm Mayor Erin Joyce, and I'd like to tell you about some important projects we're working on here in Braintree to improve the quality of our local water bodies and to protect our town from the dangers of flooding and stormwater runoff. Stormwater runoff is the water generated from rain and snowmelt that flows over hard surfaces and does not soak into the ground. Stormwater runs through a system of pipes in the street and into our local water bodies, such as the Cochado River, Farm River, Manatequit River, and Sunset Lake. In Braintree, we have a separate sewer system. So what does that mean? That means that there are actually two separate pipes in most streets that carry stormwater and sanitary sewer separately. So when it rains and water washes into our catch basin system, it ties into the stormwater system, which transports water to our water bodies. Over the past 5 years, the town of Braintree has been working hard to maintain and improve our stormwater drainage systems. Now, we're constructing retrofits to the drainage system. These drainage retrofits use the natural process of infiltration to improve water quality and reduce potential flooding in our neighborhoods. At Plain Street Cemetery, we're constructing a bioretention basin. What that is right before the water, which today runs piped to the Manatequit River. This project intercepts that pipe before it goes and discharges into the river. And it creates a place for the water to go first, which is the bioretention basin. And in that basin, plants and engineered soils will filter the water so that that water that's coming off of the neighborhood right now, unfiltered, untreated, will be collected into a rain garden, and that provides a lot of pollution control before the water ultimately makes it to the Manatequit River.
I'm Rachel Horak. I live here in Braintree, and I'm the president of Sustainable Braintree. We think of ways that we can help our residents of Braintree live healthier lives that are in better harmony with our planet. Bioretention basin at the cemetery site is part of an overall project to expand the Braintree Cemetery. And this project will not impact current burial sites, nor will it impact future burial sites. After the bioretention basin is constructed, we add native plants that help filter out the pollutants so that the water is a little bit cleaner. Some of the ways that residents can help are reduce the amount of fertilizers that you use on your lawn, picking up pet waste, reducing the amount of garbage in our streets, and also raking the catch basins that you might see on the roadways.
To pay for these projects, we're leveraging grants from the Mass DEP, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, and the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. As a Braintree resident, you should know that the town is actively working on projects that help improve the water quality in our water bodies. With your help and these projects, we will help filter pollution and keep Braintree's rivers, lakes, and streams beautiful for years to come.
Welcome back to Braintree Today. I'm Sarah Hamilton. Now we'll be getting into more stories. On Sunday and Monday, New England was hit with its first major winter snowstorm of 2026, dumping approximately 2 feet of snow in Braintree and the surrounding areas. Mayor Erin Joyce said on Monday, quote, that some of the challenges of this storm was the duration of the event. We only have so many contractors, and they have to work around the clock to keep the streets clear. Now the goal is keeping the streets clear, moving snow, and sidewalk cleanup." End quote. Braintree Public Schools were closed Monday and Tuesday of this past week, and the Braintree DPW has been working tirelessly to keep the road, sidewalks, and parking lots clear. For more info and to keep yourself updated on the town of Braintree and snow removal, visit the Town of Braintree's Facebook page at facebook.com/BraintreeMayor. Massachusetts air travelers 18 and older who don't have a real ID or other acceptable identification will soon face an extra fee at airport security. Starting February 1st, the Transportation Security Administration will charge a $45 confirmed fee for travelers who need additional identity verification. TSA says the process may include database checks, security questions, or biometric screening, and can take 10 to 30 minutes. Travelers can prepay the fee online to speed things up, but TSA warns there's no guarantee identification can be confirmed. The Confirm ID is valid for 10 days from the date of travel. Using Confirm ID is optional. However, TSA says travelers without Real ID compliant identification who don't use it may not be allowed through security and could miss their flights. Real ID cards, which have been required since May, are still strongly encouraged. The IDs were mandated after the September 11th attacks, though the deadline was delayed multiple times. To get a Real ID in Massachusetts, residents must schedule an in-person appointment at an RMV service center or participating AAA branch. Applicants must bring original documents proving legal presence, social security number, and Massachusetts residency. Names on all documents must match. A longtime Braintree High School coach was recognized as one of the best in the state. Bill O'Connell, the head coach of Braintree Baseball, was inducted into the Massachusetts Baseball Coaches Association Hall of Fame on Saturday, January 24th. It's an honor that comes nearly 20 years after he made the decision to fully commit to the baseball program. O'Connell took over as varsity head coach in 2006. At the time, the team was coming off back-to-back losing seasons. In his first year, the Womps turned things around, finishing 11-9. Since then, the program has become one of the most consistent in the state. Under O'Connell, Braintree has reached the playoffs every season, won 7 league titles, and captured 2 state championships. Despite the success, O'Connell says the Hall of Fame recognition feels a little surreal. He says the honor reflects not just his work, but the players, assistant coaches, and support he's had over the years. Now entering his 20th season at the helm, O'Connell says his focus has shifted beyond wins and losses, putting more emphasis on relationships, growth, and helping his players off the field. And with another season ahead, he says he's as excited as ever to be back in the dugout. Good news for local veterans in Braintree. The Braintree Veterans Services Center has announced that the Veterans Pantry is back up and running. The pantry is now accepting donations of new clothing, toiletries, and non-perishable food items, all of which go directly towards supporting local veterans in need. The pantry services veterans in Braintree, Holbrook, and Avon. Donations can be dropped off at the Veterans Service Center located at 74 Pond Street in Braintree. Town officials say the reopening of the pantry ensures veterans continue to have access to essential resources and support within the community. Here's a look at what's happening around Braintree. On January 30th at noon, the Elder Affairs Committee will host an Aging Gracefully event as part of its monthly Lunch and Learn series. The event is free and residents can contact Elder Affairs for more information. The Braintree Recreation Department is offering a Central Rock Gym climbing clinic now through February 11th, and again from February 18th through March 25th. They're also running a Kids Test Kitchen program through February 24th, meeting Tuesdays at 5 p.m., along with Kids Art Night Out on February 6th. For details, call the Recreation Department at 781-794-8900. The Knights of Columbus will hold their annual free throw contest on February 1st from 9 a.m. to noon at the Doherty Gym. And finally, the Braintree Catholic Collaborative is inviting the community to a free community meal on February 4th at 5:30 p.m., held at St. Francis Assisi Church Hall. 40 meals will be available on a first-come, first-served basis, dedicated to those who truly need them. All are welcome and no registration is required. And that's your weekly snapshot. Thank you for watching Braintree Today on BCAM TV. We'll be right back with more stories in the area.
Hi, I'm Tom Lyons, a retired captain from the Quincy Fire Department and the author of the book Fighting Fire, A Proactive Approach. Let's talk portable electric space heater safety. These heaters must not be left unattended. Place them on a stable base 3 feet from combustibles. Their use is not recommended within a bedroom, but if you must do so, place a smoke detector on the ceiling within the bedroom. Plug a portable space heater directly into the outlet, avoiding extension cords. Thus, do not use lamp cords or power strips for this purpose. Are portable, unvented propane and oil-filled heating appliances safe to use within a residence? No. Massachusetts prohibits their use. These heaters produce asphyxiant gases. These gases can render an occupant incapacitated or dead. Please consider your safety during these upcoming colder months. Thank you for doing so.
Welcome back to Braintree Today. Now let's get right into more stories. The husband of Lindsay Clancy, who allegedly killed her 3 children in their Duxbury home and jumped out a window during a mental health episode back in 2023, has filed a lawsuit against her doctors. Patrick Clancy filed a new lawsuit in Norfolk Superior Court on Wednesday against Lindsay's healthcare providers, claiming that she was suffering from postpartum depression and was overprescribed several medications, like antidepressants and mood stabilizers. He also claimed she was not properly cared for despite a known history of mental health problems. He alleges that his wife's mental health issues were significantly worsened when she sought treatment for anxiety and an increasingly poor and deteriorating mental health condition. The wrongful death and malpractice lawsuit is against his wife's psychiatrist, Dr. Jennifer Tufts at Astor Mental Health, and Rebecca Gelada, a nurse practitioner at South Shore Health System. Patrick Clancy points to a bevy of diverse and powerful medications they misprescribed, coupled with an abject failure to appropriately monitor Lindsay. It was 3 years ago in January that Lindsay Clancy allegedly strangled her 3 children and then attempted to take her own life, leaving her permanently paralyzed. Lindsay Clancy has pleaded not guilty and is being held at Tewksbury Hospital. Her trial is scheduled for July. In an update to a story we brought you last week, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court has agreed to hear a case involving 2 controversial statues planned for Quincy's new public safety building. The dispute centers on 2 10-foot bronze statues depicting St. Michael and St. Florian, the patron saints of police and firefighters. A lower court temporarily blocked their installation in October, citing concerns over government neutrality in religion. Quincy Mayor Thomas Koch commissioned the statues without prior public discussion. Their estimated cost ranges from $850,000 to $1 million. Civil liberties groups, including the ACLU of Massachusetts, sued the city on behalf of residents, arguing the statues violate the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights. Mayor Koch says the statues honor the values of first responders, not religion. After the injunction, both sides requested that the case go directly to the state's highest court, skipping intermediate appeals. The Supreme Judicial Court agreed and will now hear the case. Quincy has until February 13th to file its legal brief. The plaintiffs have until March 13th, with oral arguments expected this spring. The court will ultimately decide whether the statues violate the state constitution. In disturbing school news, 2 people are facing criminal charges following an investigation into alleged abuse at a Medway child care facility. Medway police say the investigation began after reports of abuse involving 2 children under the age of 2 on November 5, 2025, at the Bright Path Child Care Center on Main Street. Police say surveillance video inside the facility captured the alleged assaultive behavior. 27-year-old Anthony Barron of Woonsocket, Rhode Island, is charged with multiple counts of assault and battery on a child, reckless endangerment, and failure to report child abuse as a mandated reporter. 25-year-old Kaylee Kent of Whitsonville faces similar charges, including assault and battery on a child, reckless endangerment, and failure to report abuse. Both were arraigned last Friday in Wrentham District Court and released on personal recognizance. Police say the 2 were placed on leave and later terminated from their positions. Authorities add that Bright Path Child Care Center management has been fully cooperative with the investigation. A woman from Bethlehem, New Hampshire, has set off to row 3,200 miles across the Atlantic Ocean as part of the Atlantic Dash. Renee Blacken will race solo from the Canary Islands to Antigua and could make history as the first woman to complete the journey alone. The trip is expected to take between 60 to 90 days. During that time, Blacken will have no motor, no sail, and no food resupply. Of the trip, Blacken said, "I'm solo out there, but I'm part of this bigger community. I'm part of this bigger picture. I am part of making sure that these resources exist so that people don't have to go through hard, hurtful, challenging, confusing times in their lives." She is rowing to support Outdoor Adventuring for Good, a nonprofit that raises money for trauma recovery programs. She set off on the historic trip on Saturday. On the food and restaurant front, the semi-finalists for the prestigious 36th Annual James Beard Awards were announced last week. 5 chefs from Massachusetts have been nominated for a James Beard Award in the Best Chef Northeast category. The organization announced the 2026 James Beard Awards semi-finalists on January 21st, recognizing the country's top culinary professionals across more than a dozen categories. The Massachusetts chefs vying for Best Chef Northeast are Sasha Coleman of Comfort Kitchen in Boston, Emerlise Colin of La Padrona in Boston, Luke Fetbroth of Tonino in Jamaica Plain, Shi Mei of Lennox Sophia in Boston, and Peter Nguyen of La Madeleine in Quincy, Mass. The James Beard Awards are a prestigious culinary event, with many considering it the Oscars of the culinary world. Thank you for tuning in to Braintree Today. We'll be right back with more in entertainment.
Hi, I'm Tom Lyons, a retired captain from the Quincy Fire Department and the author of the book Fighting Fire, A Proactive Approach. Cooking is the leading cause of home fires. Unattended cooking is the leading cause of these fires and related deaths. Therefore, keep a close eye on your cooking. If you must leave the kitchen, bring a utensil with you as a reminder of your efforts. Set a timer for food taking longer to cook. Turn pot handles towards the back of the stove. Keep a lid nearby when cooking. If a small grease fire starts, slide the lid over the pan and shut off the burner. You can take an active role in your safety. Cooking safety starts with you.
Welcome back to Braintree Today. First in entertainment, we have some news. One of the nation's most beloved bands has reached a major milestone. The Eagles' 1976 album, Their Greatest Hits, is now the best-selling album of all time. In the United States, officially surpassing 40 million units sold. It was also announced Thursday that the band's 1976 album, Hotel California, has been certified 28 times platinum, making it the 3rd best-selling album in U.S. history. The rankings are tracked by the Recording Industry Association of America, which factors in album sales and streaming equivalents. The Eagles' Greatest Hits album was originally released on February 17, 1976. Founding member Don Henley said in a statement that it's gratifying to be part of something that has endured for 5 decades. And the celebration doesn't stop there. On Friday, the Eagles will begin 12 final shows at Sphere in Las Vegas, setting a record for the venue's longest-running residency. Since launching last September, the residency has drawn more than 700,000 fans across 44 performances. Now, here are some movies and shows that have been creating some social buzz. First, Send Help follows a woman and her overbearing boss who becomes stranded on a deserted island after a plane crash. They must overcome past grievances and work together to survive, but ultimately it's a battle of wills and wits to make it out alive. The film is directed by Sam Raimi and stars Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. You can watch Send Help now in theaters. Up next, Mercy takes place in the near future and follows Detective Chris Raven, who's accused of murdering his wife Nicole. He's placed on trial in the Mercy Capital Court, an AI-driven justice system where defendants have 90 minutes to prove their innocence to an AI judge named Maddox. If Raven fails to lower his guilt probability, he faces immediate execution via a sonic blast. The film stars Chris Pratt and Rebecca Ferguson. You can watch Mercy now in theaters. Finally, Shelter follows a reclusive man living on a remote Scottish island who rescues a young girl from a storm, triggering violent events that force him to confront his dangerous past as a former assassin and protect her from his former organization. The film stars Jason Statham and Naomi Ackie. You can watch Shelter now in theaters. That'll do it for news today. Don't forget, Verizon customers can watch BCAM TV in high definition on channel 2128 and Comcast on channel 1073. I'm Sarah Hamilton, and thank you for watching Braintree Today on BCAM TV. We'll see you next time.